Yeah. Well, let's jump right into it. Let's start with Oklahoma.
Okay.
So a year ago they were 11-2, 7-2 with, in the conference, an Alamo Bowl win versus Oregon, and then
Hmm.
of course Lincoln Riley leaves for USC. Brent Venables comes back, former defensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
Sure.
And we've talked about this in the offseason a lot, but the biggest thing that a defensive coordinator needs to do when he is hired as a head coach is hire a good offensive coordinator.
He did that.
And he did that. Jeff Lebby came from Ole Miss. At quarterback, they lost Caleb Williams to USC. They brought in Dylan Gabriel, who has played for Jeff Lebby before, UCF,
Yep.
and has been really good in his career. Solid running back room. Marvin Mims is a star receiver. Theo Weiss and Drake Stoops, a couple other solid receiving options.
Yeah.
Um, I think one key thing that they did was Bill Bedenbaugh has been one of the highest, most well-known offensive line coaches in the country for a while. And like Oklahoma just consistently has really good offensive lines. Not maybe Alabama or Georgia or even Notre Dame level, but kind of like that next, like they're really good.
Yeah.
And they managed to hold on to him. Lincoln Riley wanted him at USC, but they kept him at Oklahoma. And they have a good offensive line this coming season the way it looks. Like I think there's a lot of good pieces on the offense. Obviously, we know the defense. Well, okay, let's talk about the offense first before I go to
Okay.
defense. What
Okay.
what stands out to you from what I've said or from your own research? What are you thinking about their offense this coming season?
I mean, Jeff Lebby, getting Jeff Lebby there is huge,
Yeah,
massive. Of all the coordinator hires that the last batch, like all those coaches changed, and there was so many people changed. Like Lincoln Riley went here, Brian Kelly went here, and then this guy went here, and then this guy went here. Of all the changes that happened, I think that Jeff Lebby going to be the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma was the single best hire of all of
yeah,
them. I think it's going to work out really well. For both Oklahoma and for him. I think it can be maybe in a couple of years he'll get possibly a promotion to like a head coaching job if this goes well for him. But there's tools there. I know they lost weapons. I know Rattler transferred out, Caleb Williams transferred out. They lost guys. Understood. Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback. And like it's a guy that you already mentioned, like he has experience in that offense, like he understands what they're trying to do, and so some continuity there I think is huge. I think this Oklahoma offense can kind of hit the ground running. That's probably why I'm a bit high on them. I think Venables can coach. Venables can just coach defense. He just can. Like
yeah.
he was just born doing that, and he's always going to be able to do that. So like the defense will improve, no doubt. I think the offense is what will be the story of Oklahoma's season. And I'm feeling really good about it. It's early. Like so many
Mm-hmm.
things can happen. But yes, currently feeling really good about it. The number's 8.5. Is that right?
I have 8.5 or 9.5. Yes.
Okay. So I'm obviously I'm going to take the 8.5 number and bet the over. Feeling fairly confident about it. The offense, I mean, Mims is an NFL guy at receiver.
Oh yeah.
Like there's still pieces there. I think everyone kind of assumes that it was just kind of left bare. And the fact is that there's like Oklahoma will still be like they have weapons. There's still weapons there. And yeah, overall feeling pretty confident about it. The
Mm-hmm.
schedule kind of lines up for them. They don't have too many tough games. They go to Nebraska, but like other than that, like I mean, what's Nebraska? Like no one's really sure. So yeah, other than that, you have a lot of home games. You get Baylor and Oklahoma State at home. So I think for me, this is the Big 12 winner, right? Like for me, right now, off the bat, I know we're kind of spoiling the show. I think Oklahoma will win the Big 12. I think Jeff Lebby will be viewed as, just kind of maybe like a younger version of Lane Kiffin. Like I mean, I know he
Yeah.
came from Ole Miss and all, but like kind of like what Kiffin was at Alabama, where he's like, here's the new young guy that's all the cool ideas. That's kind of where I see this going. I have a fairly high confidence level on this right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You mentioned this could be considered the best coordinator hire of the offseason.
Yeah.
And part of that I think is that it's almost a little harder to find offensive coordinators these days because so many of them get head coaching jobs. um,
Right. Right on.
so it feels a little easier to find a good defensive mind, and maybe part of that is because there's a larger pool of like really good defensive minds out there, and then it
Mm-hmm.
seems like there's just a few, like there's a couple offensive masterminds, if you will, where it
Yeah.
feels like if you have the 20th best defense in the country, that's more acceptable than having the 20th best offense, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
like everybody wants to have that top 5 offense, and when you have a guy like Jeff Lebby, like I think their talent level, because of what they lost, like the talent level in offense is not quite as good as it has been in previous years, but I think their
Sure.
offense is going to be just fine because of
Of
that
course.
coordinator hire.
Of course. There's no doubt. I like that point too. That like you can have like, well, like, man, we had like a top 25 defense. You're like, okay, like, okay. And then, like we have a top 20 offense. No one cares, man.
Yeah,
No one cares.
exactly.
Like that's terrible. How terrible is that? I just like the whole thing just really changes there. And yeah, there's only, I think we fall into this trap a lot, I think, in college football, where we put so like, how many top 10 teams can we have? Like they're all going to be top 10 teams. Everyone talks about, every preseason, well, like they're going to win 10 games. Like, and then you figure out, like, as you're doing kind of what we do now, you go game by game for every team, you realize like someone has to freaking lose these games. And so someone's not going to be in the top. And then I think it's kind of the same. Yeah. To your point there, like with coaches, these teams are going to play each other, and someone's not going to have a great offense or a great defense.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's so much of it. Yeah. It's so volatile, I think, in college football, and how it's going to be really interesting for all these head coaches. It's just a ton of turmoil, especially in the Big 12. You didn't give me an over under. I went over. I'm guessing you are too.
I'm also going over 8.5. Feel pretty good about it. The other side of the ball, just really quick, like it's kind of shocking how many NFL players Oklahoma has actually put in the league the last several years without having good defenses.
A bunch, yeah.
They've actually had a decent amount of talent there and haven't been able to figure it out. And I think in a little bit similar way to the offense, like I don't know that the defensive talent level will be quite like it has been the last several years because of everything they lost. But I mean, it's Brent Venables. Like you can't convince me they won't have a slightly better defense from the get-go. And give it 2-3 years, and I expect Oklahoma to have a really good defense. It can take a little bit for that to happen. Like I don't expect them to be a top 10 right away, but man, I feel really good about this Oklahoma team, and it seems like, yeah, this is one of my more confident picks. Is over 8.5. I'm also picking them to win the conference. I feel like they're borderline playoff contender. Like probably not quite. They're probably that second tier this year, but I wouldn't be
10 and 2.
Sure. But I wouldn't be shocked if it was better than that and they actually did make the playoff.
Right on.
I think it's a greater discussion to go talking about the long-term play with Brent Venables and how will he do, but yeah, if he continues to hire great offense coordinators like this when Jeff Lebby gets a head coaching job somewhere, like I think Oklahoma will be just fine.
Who wins more games this year, Oklahoma or USC?
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm at the same place. I know we haven't talked about USC yet, but like Oklahoma's schedule is not terrible. Like you get the one, like the good part about being in a conference that has a lot of just kind of muddle in the middle is where everyone's at. The good part about being in a conference that's like that is that you're going to be a favorite in almost every game. Like Oklahoma will probably be favored in every game, and like they'll probably be more talented than than pretty much any team they play in the regular season. Maybe Texas and maybe Baylor, you could kind of argue, but yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of wins there for Oklahoma this year, and I think a year from now, when we look back on the coaching hires that were, I think Venables' name will only go up. I think his stock will only have gone up over the course of this year, because I think he has too much big game experience, too much defensive experience. He's just too smart of a coach and too good at coaching up players for them to be bad consistently. So yeah, I'm fairly confident as well.
All right, agreement there.